I think we know that it's a desperate situation. As Obadullah was saying, it's the worst earthquake that an earthquake-prone country has had for very many years, and there are uh, thousands of people killed and injured. And so I think what we know about the Taliban is that since they came into power again last August, thousands and thousands of people who are educated and trained have left the country or been kicked out of their jobs in government. And what this means is that there's a dearth of doctors, there's a dearth of people who are competent in disaster relief and humanitarian aid. And I think that's going to be shown up in the coming days as the real extent of this disaster is revealed. What I'm hearing from people who have teams on the ground there is that the estimates of people who are have been killed are probably double the 1,500 that we're hearing. The Taliban spent 20 years up until last August destroying infrastructure that was being built with international aid. That's roads, government buildings. They attacked hospitals. They killed people who worked for the government. Once they came into power, they decimated the government ranks. And so there just isn't the capacity to deal with a disaster of this scale. That they're asking for international aid, I can understand why they're doing that, and I can understand the compassion, but aid has been going in. The Americans have spent nearly $2 billion since August last year. The United Nations is administering that aid, and it has to utilise on-the-ground local non-government organisations for delivery. They can't function without the Taliban's approval. So you have a situation where 30% of the money that's going in is taken by the UN to cover its own overheads. And then the Taliban is taking between 25 and 75% of what's left, according to people that I'm talking to, and it is delivered selectively. So even though it's conditional that the Taliban will not get itself involved in how the aid is distributed, nobody has any choice. Nobody has any influence over the Taliban at all.
How forthcoming do you think aid from other countries will be, other countries who in recent times who have had trouble trusting the Taliban?
Oh, I think it's going to be forthcoming because people want to help, as they have been, as I mentioned, since August anyway. There is cash flowing into the country. $32 million US dollars a week is airlifted on UN charter flights into Afghanistan and deposited in the central bank, as we know. And the central bank is controlled by the Taliban. So it's getting in. But whether it's getting to the people who need it is the big question, and the answer is usually no. I think what's going to happen with the tragedy that we're seeing unfold in Paktika and Khost due to this devastating earthquake is going to be a real test of just how genuine the Taliban are about wanting to be a government for the whole country. At the moment, they have no legitimacy. They don't have diplomatic recognition from any country in the world, and they're desperate for that. They have friends in Pakistan and next door to the east. They have friends in Iran to the west who will help on the ground. I think that they will get through it, but they will be tested.
And what else is happening in Afghanistan right now that is distracting from how the Taliban is actually dealing with the situation?
Well, there are pockets of violent resistance across the country as people fight against the control that the Taliban have. There's been snow in the east. There's devastating forest fires in Nuristan. There's flooding in the Panjshir Valley. There's an awful lot to deal with. There've been locusts at wheat harvest time. There've been dust storms. It's almost like a perfect storm happening in Afghanistan at the moment. The earthquake is taking a lot of the attention away from what else is happening, and it's also it's helping the Taliban in that they can be seen to be dealing with the earthquake as that tragedy unfolds, whereas their negligence of rule of law and security and feeding people and really getting aid across the board to where it's needed is being ignored.
Lynne O'Donnell, really appreciate your time and analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.